Hello, I'm Daza Greenwood, Executive Director of Law.MIT.edu. That is the MIT research unit that focuses on using computation as a form of expressing and applying legal rules and instruments and legal systems. We publish the MIT Computational Law Report, and that report has convened a task force on using computational law and data as a method and mechanism for combating human trafficking and modern slavery. I'm going to do a screen share. Here we go. And I'm pleased to present an overview of that task force today before the UN World Data Forum. The Task Force on Computational Law for Combating Modern Slavery is an initiative of the Computational Law Report, as I mentioned, and it has the aim of convening leaders and doers that are dedicated to abolishing modern slavery and human trafficking. So that is the sort of moonshot big goal that we are focused upon. And you don't do that in one bite, of course, but this does partake somewhat of the abolitionist movement on slavery in the US tradition. And we are carrying that forward with a terrific set of partners in this domain of human trafficking and modern slavery. The task force aims to focus specifically on how data and computation can be effectively leveraged to combat these problems, and in the shorter term, to begin better identification and transparency and tracking and monitoring, and to enable better prevention and interdiction, and ultimately to, as I said, look at total eradication of this blight upon people. The task force is very fortunate to have a terrific membership and leadership from industry, the advocacy community, from the judiciary, from nonprofits, and the main full-time members of the task force, or the full members, I should say, include Shauna Hoffman of IBM, who is the task force chair, and Brian Ulisny, who is the co-chair, and he is from Thomson Reuters. We launched the task force at the MIT Media Lab on December 6th, at a fairly significant in-person event when we still used to do those things in the before times, before we realized that they'd be endangered species themselves. And in that event, we brought together a larger community of stakeholders that were focused on computational law. And for some of them, they hadn't considered yet getting involved in using their talents and skills and resources as a vector to push back on modern slavery and human trafficking, but they learned. And this is part of the community building mission of the task force, and the mission of popularizing more public information and awareness. And to that end, the task force has published its first report in the MIT Computational Law Report. It was published in May of this year, and it provided a introduction to and an overview of this modern slavery and human trafficking area, and it focused particularly on the impacts of COVID-19 and how that's affecting and changing modern slavery and human trafficking. It's accelerating it in some ways, and it may also be creating some new opportunities to fight back. We looked at some of the key dimensions of how we have observed COVID-19 and others have observed it impacting this area. And we did that in some particular segments, including the massage industry, labor exploitation, and the virtual sex work area, which has experienced a real spike, and that is, of course, all connected with child exploitation. And then we went into a fairly deep dive on computational law systems as a partial solution. Well, you know, most of this is a very human issue and a sort of practical issue. There are legal systems, obviously, very much involved. This is also a set of crimes and civil offenses. And there are many legal systems requiring reporting and monitoring and regulation that are not, you know, directly about modern slavery and human trafficking, but which can also be applied in concert and orchestrated as part of the fight against it. So looking at that, we took a look at, again, at public awareness, the different levers we have for transparency and accountability, some more specific applications, and then, you know, perhaps and that was the meat of the article, of the report rather. But one of the most important features was the open questions. So in composing this report, it raised more questions than we were prepared to answer, and part of the delivery vehicle here was to articulate those open questions and to publish them at the bottom of the article. These questions in part will inform the future work of the task force, but we also feel that some of them at least may help catalyze and focus broader work to combat modern slavery and human trafficking. The article fundamentally was designed as a wake-up call for the communities that we touch in this field. We have on deck another report that is being drafted now, that's focusing more on using data visualization to identify patterns. Partly that involves a collaboration with IBM's Traffic Analysis Hub, as well as with some other stakeholders. And we've had other collaborations as well, including the Data Jam Hackathon. Those are linked in the slides. You can learn more about this task force at Law.MIT.edu, where we have the task force page that is also linked from the slides. And notably, at the bottom of the task force page, there is a handy, simple, inviting, we hope, Google form where you can learn more. You can submit that form and learn more and get involved. And we genuinely hope that you will. So thank you very much for your time. And we've got several members of in fact, all of the full members of the task force will be presenting as part of this UN panel. I hope that you'll pay careful attention to the work and the ideas that we're trying to bring forward in this panel in collaboration with our friends and colleagues at Gallup and their community, and that you will join us in using technology and data to combat modern slavery and human trafficking. Thank you very much.